Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. A while back, I looked at 10 rumored driver moves in Formula 1 that never happened, and I thought it would be a good idea to do that with IndyCar as well. As always when it comes to things like this, there's no guarantee that any of these rumors were necessarily true, just that they were things that were reported at the time. Let's just get right into it. The first one we'll look at is an F1 IndyCar crossover that never happened. I found a report from September 1979 that stated Keke Rosberg was to drive for Longhorn Racing at the season finale of the 1979 kart season at Phoenix. The drive would be an additional entry from the team, and he would drive alongside their full-time driver Tom Bagley. The report also stated that he would potentially drive for the team full-time in 1980. While Rosberg was finishing up the Formula 1 season driving for Wolff, he was no stranger to American racing, having won races in both Formula Atlantic and Can-Am. In fact, he was also racing in Can-Am in 1979, and the kart race in Phoenix would be the weekend between the final two races on that year's Can-Am schedule. I couldn't find why this one-off never happened, but Longhorn never entered an additional car at Phoenix, and they eventually signed IndyCar legend Al Unser to be the driver in 1980. He would spend 3 years with the team failing to win a race, and the team shut down shortly after. Rosberg, on the other hand, continued driving in Formula 1, racing for Fittipaldi the following 2 years before getting a Williams drive in 1982, where he would win the World Championship. Had he taken the kart drive for 1980, he actually would have driven a car based on the 1979 Williams FW07, but probably would have struggled to contend for a championship based on how Unser did with the car. Perhaps he still would have made it back to Formula 1, but it's also unlikely he would have found his way back to Williams in 1982 to win his lone title. Given how Rosberg became known for his performances on street circuits in Formula 1, I do think it would have been interesting had he switched to IndyCars after leaving F1, when street circuits started becoming more common on the kart calendar. The next one I have involves the Ferrari IndyCar project from the mid-80s that never happened. You may be familiar with the car being connected to True Sports and Bobby Rahal, but after that fell through, there were still rumors of Ferrari coming to IndyCar. One rumor stated that Newman Haas would take over the project and Mario Andretti would drive the car, but the one I want to focus on is another F1 driver being connected to the seat. One report in early 1986 stated that instead of working with a current kart team, Ferrari would run the project themselves, and the driver for the team was rumored to be Andrea de Cesaris. By 1986, de Cesaris was a Formula 1 veteran, having debuted in late 1980, but without too many results to show for it. He was also racing for a struggling Minardi team, who were in their second year of Formula 1. Rumors stated that the plans were for the Ferrari IndyCar to compete in the final 3 races of the 1986 season at Laguna Seca, Phoenix, and Tamiami Park, before a full season to start in 1987. De Cesaris never came over to race in IndyCars, and neither did the Ferrari car, with many questioning just how serious the project was. Personally, with the reputation de Cesaris had as a crasher, I think it may have been best that he never competed on some of the high-speed ovals on the IndyCar calendar. We'll move on from the Ferrari program that never raced to the Porsche IndyCar program that only lasted a few years. Porsche would enter its first kart races late in 1987 in preparation for a full season beginning in 1988, and was aiming high for their only driver. They were chasing Mario Andretti to drive for them in 1988, and there were stories of him potentially accepting an offer all throughout 1987. The first reports occurred in late May of 1987, around the Indy 500, and by the time of the Michigan 500 in early August, it was expected that Andretti was going to sign with Porsche. After the Porsche IndyCar debuted at the final 2 rounds of 1987 with poor results, it was reported that Porsche was considering purchasing a March chassis to race in 1988 so they could promise Andretti a competitive car. Carl Haas admitted that he would have trouble matching Porsche's offer financially, while Andretti openly admitted to considering the offer, saying it was the most difficult decision since having to decide between Lotus or Ferrari in Formula 1 for 1978. He made the right decision then staying with Lotus, propelling him to his only world championship, and I think he made the right decision here staying with Newman Haas. There were brief rumors connecting him again to Porsche for 1989, but those were quickly put away when the team re-signed Hale Fabi, who they turned to after Andretti declined their offer for 1988. Porsche would actually race a March chassis for 1988 and continue to do so through their last kart season in 1990. During the 3 years, Fabi had a solid season in 1989, winning Porsche's only race and finishing 4th in the championship, but apart from that, he was mostly in the midfield. The next one I have involves Unser Jr. He was looking to leave Gallus Racing at the end of 1993 to join one of the bigger teams on the grid, and he wasn't short of options. One of the options he considered was joining Chip Ganassi Racing. Ganassi was open about the negotiations, saying that he would love to have Unser and that he would be a tremendous addition to his team. As the summer went on, it seemed that Unser was down to 3 options, one of which being Ganassi, and the other 2 being Penske and a new team started by Unser along with Pat Patrick. Regardless what he chose, it appeared that Marlboro would be joining Unser as a personal sponsor. As we know, Unser decided to join Penske for 1994 and had one of the most dominant seasons in IndyCar history, winning 8 races including the Indy 500 on his way to a second championship. He continued to be a contender in 1995, winning 4 races, but Penske's performance dropped after that. He still remained a title contender in 1996 despite failing to win a race, but finished outside the top 10 of the championship from 1997 to 1999, failing to win a race each year before switching to the IRL. Had he joined Ganassi instead, things certainly would have started slower, as Ganassi was still an up-and-coming team in '94, but they still won 4 consecutive titles from 1996 to 1999. Had Unser stayed with the team through that period, perhaps he could have had more success in terms of titles over the course of his tenure than he did with Team Penske. I don't have a ton of information on this next one, but I found 2 times that Jimmy Vasser was connected to switching from Ganassi to Team Green. The first time was for the 1996 season, in which he would replace Jacques Villeneuve, who was leaving for Formula One. At the time, this probably would have made sense, as he would be leaving a team that failed to win a race in 1995 to replace a driver that was the defending champion. As it would work out, Vasser would win his only championship in 1996 staying with Ganassi, while Raul Boesel took the green seat, had a disastrous season finishing 17th in the championship. Vasser was then connected to a switch again a couple years later for the 1998 season, with Vasser being quoted as saying that he thought it was time for him to move on from Ganassi. He reportedly had negotiations with Team Green, but Ganassi was insistent that he had Vasser under contract for the 1998 season and that he wasn't going anywhere. I couldn't find any further reports after that, but Vasser would end up staying with Ganassi through 2000, still being a front runner, but never again matching what he achieved in 1996. I couldn't find too many driver rumors from the early days of the IRL, but wanted to include one of the few that I did. When the IRL started in 1996, Tony Stewart was an extremely successful driver coming through the USAC ranks and seemed to be the perfect driver that the IRL was trying to attract. One of the teams that was trying to secure Stewart's services was AJ Foyt Enterprises. Negotiations got pretty far, but things fell through late as Stewart wanted to explore NASCAR opportunities on top of the IRL. While Foyt was impressed with Stewart, he didn't want a driver that would bounce back and forth between the 2 series, as Stewart raced a partial Busch Series schedule that year. That was when Team Menard stepped in and signed Stewart. Both Foyt and Menard were among the front-running teams in the early days of the IRL, and in the 1996-97 season, Stewart beat Davey Hamilton, who was the driver that Foyt turned to after deciding not to sign Stewart, by 6 points in the championship. Stewart remained a front-runner in the IRL in 1998 before deciding to switch full-time to NASCAR, where he had a successful career. I have another one involving an IRL driver, but this time it involves the driver returning to kart, and the driver in question is Buddy Lazier. Lazier made his first attempt to qualify for a kart race in 1989 and continued driving for various kart teams through 1995, but he never had a good opportunity to show his talent and switched to the newly formed IRL in 1996. He won the Indy 500 that year and was a front runner in the early years of the series. However, for 1997, he was briefly connected to a seat with Team Green. After failing to secure names like Robbie Gordon, Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart, Green said that the 3 finalists for the seat included Lazier, Mike Croft, and Eddie Lawson. None of these would actually get the seat though, which ended up going to Parker Johnstone. I think this would have been an interesting opportunity for Lazier, as it would have been the best kart seat he ever had, and it wasn't too far away from the revival of Team Green with cool sponsorship. Lazier proved in the IRL he was strong at ovals and had enough experience on road courses that it could probably work. He apparently continued to have interest in a kart seat for 1998 due to safety concerns in the IRL and would regularly attend kart races throughout 1997. He was briefly connected to a seat at Tasman Motorsports, but that never happened either. He ended up staying in the IRL, and it paid off as he won the series title in 2000 and backed that up with a second in 2001. Nigel Mansell famously came to kart in 1993, winning the title in his rookie year, while briefly simultaneously holding both the kart and Formula One championships, but left the series after the following season in 1994. He had some opportunities to fill in at Williams following the death of Ayrton Senna, and then took a McLaren ride for 1995, but that famously only lasted for 2 races. He was then considered for a return to Formula One with Jordan for 1997, and then a year later was rumored to be returning to kart, this time with Patrick Racing. Team manager Jim McGee was with Mansell when he raced at Newman Haas, and the two developed a great relationship, which led to discussions about a seat with Patrick Racing for 1998. The team admitted to the discussions, with McGee rumored to have gone to England to talk with Mansell. Shortly after, though, Adrian Fernandez was confirmed for the Patrick Racing seat that Mansell was under consideration for, bringing Ducati sponsorship with him, as it was reported that the sponsorship for bringing in Mansell did not materialize. However, rumors started to circulate that Mansell would run a partial schedule in a third car for the team, but I couldn't find anything about what races that could potentially be for. After a long stint with Newman Haas, Michael Andretti was looking for a new team in 2001 as he wanted a chance to win the Indy 500, a race that Newman Haas had no interest in competing in at the time. Andretti had many rumored options available to him, with the most likely appearing to be a return to Ganassi. He ran with Ganassi in his first year, returning from F1 in 1994 before rejoining Newman Haas for 1995, and a return to Ganassi's team like the perfect fit. The team had just won the Indy 500 in their first return in the hands of Juan Pablo Montoya, and they were the dominant kart team in the late 90s. To add even more to the rumors, the same weekend Andretti was being connected to Ganassi, they had announced that they would not be retaining Jimmy Vasser for the 2001 season. However, Ganassi admitted the financials of signing Andretti would have been difficult. One other option Andretti brought up himself was starting his own IRL team, as he said he was interested in team ownership, but it was not possible in kart. Shortly after, it was announced that Andretti would switch to Team Green instead, under a satellite team with Motorola sponsorship. From a performance side, this may not have affected Andretti's career much at all, as both teams were strong, but where this is interesting is that after a couple of years as a driver, Andretti purchased a majority stake in Team Green and switched the team to the IRL for 2003. The team became known as Andretti Green Racing and is the same team that is now known as Andretti Global. Had he switched to Ganassi, it's unlikely that he would ever have as much of an ownership stake in that team, which could have drastically changed the future of one of the sport's biggest teams. Obviously, there would still be options for Andretti to get into ownership over the years, but the road to that and what happened after would surely have been very different. For the final and most recent one I'll cover in this video, we have Ryan Hunter-Reay at Team Penske. Hunter-Reay debuted in Champ Car in 2003, but despite some decent results along the way, he struggled to find a home. That was until 2010, when he signed a deal to race a partial schedule with Andretti Autosport, but that quickly turned into a full-time schedule after a strong start to the season that included a win at Long Beach. Come 2012, he had the best season of his career, winning 4 races on his way to the series championship. With the increased success came interest around the paddock as he was out of contract, and Penske was one of those that showed interest. Penske had an open seat in the team as they were letting Ryan Briscoe go, but Andretti was also determined to keep his star driver, saying late in the year that he was hoping to have an extension signed by the season finale at Fontana. The two did just that, with Hunter-Reay saying that he felt a loyalty to Andretti due to the team handing him a lifeline when he was struggling to find a ride in 2010. Penske said afterwards that they did have brief discussions about Hunter-Reay making the switch earlier during the year, but his contract with Andretti didn't allow Hunter-Reay to have any serious negotiations until the season ended. Hunter-Reay never matched his 2012 season, but still did have quite a bit of success over the years, most famously winning the 2014 Indy 500 in a duel with Penske driver Helio Castroneves during the final laps. Penske, meanwhile, only filled the empty seat on a part-time basis in 2013 with AJ Allmendinger before putting Juan Pablo Montoya in the car full-time in 2014. Hopefully you enjoyed looking back at these rumors about moves that drivers never ended up making. Let me know which, if any of them, you wish actually happened the most, and also if you have any more information on them. Also, let me know if you want to see more rumors like this, as I have quite a bit more that I can share. Thanks for watching.